Hey Rad Dads, welcome again. Walter here, and I want to give you a little overview of what you're about to hear. This is episode 52. There are 52 weeks in a year, and I got to tell you, this last year has been amazing for me. It has also presented a ton of challenges. This show is dedicated to you, the Rad Dads, and everyone who's helped me create what we are now experiencing. And this is just the beginning. On this episode, I'll be talking about something that started in August. I'll be talking about resources update, and at the end, I've got a huge announcement. Don't worry, the answers are coming.
We RAD Dads, bringing a soft edge to a hard topic. Join us every week as we talk to real people with real stories, from the everyday single parent to family professionals, and find entertainment along the way. Join me, Walter J. Eggers, as I discover and share wisdom. Positive changes start here.
Episode 52. Hello and welcome back again, Rad Dads. Walter Eggers with you yet again. You know, I'm really glad that I have been able to create this resource and be able to provide resources within this for everyone to share, and I'm really happy that you have found your way to listening to the We RAD Dads podcast, and my overarching goal is to make sure that you walk away first of all, thinking that, you know, everything is okay, which it is. Everything's okay, even though we may be struggling here and there, but I want you to walk away with the confidence and knowing that people have come before you and people will come after you and life will move forward. So, you know, you are the reason I do this, and I really appreciate you listening. I'm going to get into a little bit of a solo episode again. Now, I did this in episode 48, and it was pretty popular, which I'll get into here in a minute. Before I dive into any of that, pardon me, I'm a little parched here, but before I get into any of that, I wanted to reach out and say, hey, welcome. Welcome, new listeners. If this is your first podcast, it's fantastic. I'm really happy to have you here. And for everyone who's been following so far, you are the reason that I do this, and I'm really happy to have you listening along and participating. And I wanted to wish everyone the happiest of holiday season and the brightest of New Year's. You know, we touched on it a little bit, how the holidays can sometimes, you know, just you feel gloomy, and it's not how it's supposed to be. You know, we're so tied up in other things, and the holidays, the ideal that we're supposed to be one thing or the next. Happier on the holidays, and, you know, enjoying eggnog around a Yule log or whatever. You know, like, we as Rad Dads, we understand that, you know, life doesn't happen the way we want sometimes, and, you know, I think we're a lot more resilient to when it doesn't work out perfectly than a lot of other people. So this is yet again another blessing of our situation. So, you know, I just jumped on a tangent right there, but I wanted to kind of outline where this is going. Like I said, this is a solo episode, and I am going to do a once through. So from beginning to end, this is all one cut. So to speak, no editing whatsoever, other than audio tweaking. But I'm not going to be like cutting and pasting things in there. This is it, a one shot, much like episode 48. So I'm going to say ums and ahs, and you know, there's going to be a little bit of a dead air. Maybe I'm going to go on a tangent or something. But I recognize, like a lot of people, that I don't resonate with the doctor or the millionaire entrepreneur, or, you know, the I don't know, name your comparison. But I have a hard time resonating with anyone but people like me. And I feel that you're the same way. The reason I feel this is because I've gotten a lot of feedback on my episode 48, where it was just like, I just belted it out. Like, this is me. I'm going to lay myself out on the table, take it or leave it. And I think the more we're capable of doing this, the more we can really connect with other people. And I feel blessed to be able to connect with everybody listening, and everybody over on the Facebook group as well. So this episode will incorporate the current state, my current state, the We RAD Dads' current state, talk about something that started in August, a big resources update, and then a huge announcement of course, at the end. But I can't just come out and say it because it won't make sense. At least it won't make sense to me the way I say it. So bear with me here. You know me, I'll get to the point eventually, and I hope that there's some resources along the way. And in the meantime, just thank you everybody for listening, and I hope that if I provide you this or any other show with any value whatsoever, that you would share it with a friend. Please text it to other people, tell them about it in person, grab their phone and add it to their podcast. Show them what a podcast is. Like that's our biggest hurdle here. Like obviously you're listening, so that hurdle has been cleared, but other people podcasting is not, I think it's like 40% of people, which is a healthy margin, but only 40% of the potential listening population, as I believe, listens and knows what podcasts are. So, shout it from the rooftops, so to speak, on social. If you like what I talked about, just grab a quote, grab one of the show arts, and share it. If something that any of the guests may have said resonates with you, and that's the whole point, is to create something really succinct and simple for you to grab and push out there and say, check this out. You know what? This made a difference for me. So if that's you, share it, please. The social sharing, as in social media, is an option. It's a great option. Personal sharing, texting, telling somebody about it. And the reason that we're growing, We Rad Dads is growing, is because of that. So, I have you to thank for it. So I really appreciate that. Man, this is kind of long-winded, but I guess that's kind of the point, really. So let me see. Resources. Resources is what we're all about. And I'm really happy to have created this amount of resources in this last year that I've had. Now, episode 48 kind of went over this last year, and I can't believe we're already at episode 52. The time flew by, and it's funny. I was having this conversation with a friend last night, as a matter of fact, where for whatever reason, and this may be a cliche somewhere, but I might butcher it, is that when you have kids, your time perspective is completely skewed. It somehow accelerates when you have kids. Next thing you know, a year's gone by or two, and I'm looking at pictures of my son. He was 2 years ago, and going, God, what happened? Where did I just jump into the teleporter stream? I don't know. Anyway, resources is where I was going with this. I'm really happy to have created what I have right now, and I have to be mindful in that I have big dreams. I have big goals. I want to bring everything at once to the We Rad Dads community, but I think that the growing pains associated with that, and you could correlate this with obviously your own rad daddom, in becoming a single dad and becoming a non-traditional dad, maybe stay at home, maybe, you're divorced, maybe you're marrying into a blended family, whatever the situation, it's just imperative that we recognize what we have in front of us and move forward accordingly. I wanted to share with you the resources that I'm continuing to provide. I would like to be able to encompass everything, but honestly, I've given everything I can to the We Rad Dads, and I'm really proud of what I've accomplished. I sometimes lose sight of that in seeing the things that I haven't done yet. And again, this kind of echoes on episode 48, but recognize yourselves, guys. It's the time of year to sit back and enjoy that if you can. I'll get into a little bit of that too, but resources is where I was going. Gosh, man, I'm derailing. So the page update is I actually have the outline for the resources page, which I have been promising. Now, if you go to www.weraddads.com/resources, which as of the moment I'm recording this is not available. But like I said, got an announcement. I was able to create one in a non-conventional way. And I want to shout out a listener right now. I want to shout out Dan Nelson. Dan, thank you so much for reaching out and contacting me via email. Man, I really appreciate the conversation that we were able to have. And the fact that, well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to read the email because it really moved me. And just to know that I had that impact on somebody, that's the point. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I want for everyone here. So without further ado, here we go. It says, Walter, Hi, my name is Dan Nelson. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now. I also follow you on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook due to my past relationship. You're doing an awesome job and giving out really helpful info. I really appreciate what you do, and it's been awesome for me. I'm a single dad with a 7-year-old daughter, and it's taken me a real long time to get over my past. But I think I'm really close to being okay with where I'm at. I've learned a lot about myself over the past few years, and it's great for me to relate to other rad dads. Have a great day, buddy. Dan Nelson. Now, Dan, when I received this, I got to tell you, I didn't feel that I deserved any of that, but to say that I'm thankful is a true understatement. To know that I'm having a positive impact on people out there is really near and dear to me. And that's why I do it. I do this all for, hopefully other people who, are facing these things and don't have resources, and we don't feel safer reaching out. That's why I specifically started a podcast. That's why I don't do videos. That's why I don't do, anything else. I don't blog. Because, well, first, I guess, as rad dads, as you all know, we don't have time to do anything else. So if we can multitask by listening, win-win. But moreover, the point is we can better ourselves discreetly. And let's face it, this is an extremely vulnerable time for all of us. And the last thing we need is to kind of shed our armor. Because we're kind of like crustaceans at this point. Like, all our armor's on the outside. We look really tough, but inside we're all mush, right? That's like a lobster. Everything inside is just mush, but there's a really hard, spiny exterior that protects that creature. And that's kind of where we're at right now. I liken it actually to an eggshell. Although eggshells are stereotypically they're fragile, right? Fragile as eggs. But what I'm going at with this is, we're eggs. Like, we're goo contained by a shell that just kind of holds us together a little bit. And the comparison I like to make is we as rad dads can successfully come through our challenges, our moments, our bomb craters better than ever and more resilient than ever. We still need to keep some sort of a fluid interior, right? Because we need to be able to change and adapt and mold. But essentially, where you're at the beginning of your bomb crater is a raw egg. You have a tiny, thin, fragile shell, and it's just holding you together. But eventually, when you get through the heat process, when you get through the forge and you temper, all of the situations, the emotions, everything that we're dealing with, you come on the other side as a hard-boiled egg. You're much more resilient. Yeah, you're still kind of soft on the inside, but you've been tempered to the point where you're much more portable. You're much more dynamic. You can be used in a myriad of ways, whereas a raw egg is just, once it cracks, man, I'll see you later. I went on a diatribe about raw eggs and crustaceans, and here I was trying to thank Dan Nelson for reaching out. I feel you. I mean, when I say that I'm in this with you, you'll find out here pretty soon what exactly I mean by that. And so, Dan, thank you for reaching out. And where I was going with this is resources. I ended up responding and having a conversation with Dan, and he basically prompted the structure of the resources page without my knowing it. I just created it. So I wanted to shout out, and we talked a little bit more, and one of his replies here, I want to read this to you. It says, Walter, I honestly thought I wasn't going to hear anything back or receive the video that you sent. That's right, I sent him a video. I shared it with some of my friends and family members that are always worried and concerned about me. Thank you so much. You're most welcome, by the way. The past few weeks have been a little rough for me. He talks about, the situation that we deal with where his ex is dating. I'm not sure what to think of it. The awesome thing is that I have plenty of time with his little one. And he's talking about getting back into Facebook, but not sure. But he goes on to say, I wanted to thank you for helping me in a time when I was fighting depression and feeling alone. Amazing how a simple podcast can change your thinking. You are more than welcome to share my story and my name if you want. That is fine with me, which is, of course, what I'm doing right now. And he goes on to say that I'm looking forward to chatting with you. And I will. I'm going to reach out and we're going to talk to him, actually, which is going to be cool. So Dan, I really wanted to thank you because you have helped me. You have helped everybody here because you're the reason, you're the catalyst for creating the resources page. And this is just a stepping off point. And what this is going to be is, since podcasts have been just insanely valuable to myself and obviously to Dan as well, and many of you, obviously, I have compiled the list of my favorite podcasts and resources. Everything from informational podcasts to scientific podcasts to entertainment. And so if you're interested in kind of diversifying your listening, I'm not telling you to go and completely remove the We Rad Dads podcast in lieu of one of these. Although if you did, that's your prerogative. I would say supplement it because there's a lot of really great information out there. And I think that we have an amazing resource in podcasting alone. So if you want some direction in the millions of podcasts out there of which ones that I listen to and I recommend, head on over to the resources page, which I will get up ASAP. So big shout out and thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Other resources would include, current resources would include the seven essentials download, and that's 7 essentials for the newly single parent. It is I'm going to tell you right now, it is an email opt-in. So I'm going to ask for your email address in exchange for that. But to date and in the near future, I see no reason to spam anybody weekly, monthly, yearly, or otherwise, unless I have something really huge to throw out there, which to date I've not at all. Unless I have, something that maybe it's just revolutionary or what have you. I don't see that happening. But go opt in to the 7 essentials. Get your download PDF and download your PDF, and then tell me what you think. Like, I would love to hear, obviously, what you have to say. And I wanted to reach out and thank you all for using the Amazon affiliate quick links. That is, of course, on the iTunes player behind the show art. So if you go to the iTunes player and you have the show art in front of you, tap the hand-drawn, colorful We Rad Dad banner. Just tap that, and then a little blurb of show notes will come up, and then there'll be a bunch of quick links. So that's one great way to support the show is click on the Amazon affiliate link, and it'll take you to Amazon, and you can do or continue your shopping. And of course, you can reach that on the show notes anywhere on the Rad Dads homepage at www.weraddads.com. And if you are in the middle of a purchase, like especially through this holiday season, everything's going on, and then you're just about to click, buy it now or whatever it is, finish your purchase, and you think, oh no, I didn't use the affiliate link. That's fine. Just close that window. Save your whatever you're shopping for. Go back to any of either the quick links or on the web page itself, and then go back and continue your purchase. And that way, we're going to get a percentage, and it's a win-win. The idea is, I don't want to solicit your funding, your assistance monetarily for this show. That's never been the point. I want you to get insane value. And this is an excellent way of doing that because you're getting what you need anyway. And we're getting a portion from Amazon, and it's not going to cost you a penny extra. So that is the core of what I really love about this particular affiliate. Now we also have the Audible trial as well. That's audibletrial.com/WeRadDads, or just go through the quick links, or the web show or the website links. Go through there and dive into some books. Audible is a great way to, again, discreetly and very personally allow yourself to learn and pick up amazing things from all the ton of books, which I'm going to add the books to the resources page. That won't be immediately, but that's going to happen as well. All the books that we've featured here. Another thing that I've started doing over the last couple of weeks is I've started production services. I'm starting to offer podcast production services, and I actually produce a show right now that many of you may be familiar with, and he's actually listed on the resources page as well. It's the Good Dad Project with my good friend Larry Hagner. I've been producing his podcast now for months. How many months? Several months. And he has got nothing but good feedback from that. Now, I understand you're going, how's that work? I mean, I just listened to your Sean Stevenson and episode 50, and hey, you had an audio failure. Like, what's going on? Yeah, I recognize that. Maybe I'll get into a little bit more of that here in just a bit. But yeah, I take this production services thing seriously, and so sometimes lately the bar has been falling a little short for We Rad Dads. That is the essence. Put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. That is the essence of this show today, as a matter of fact. But we'll get there. All right, I'm teasing it, and I'm all over the place right now because I got to tell you, this particular topic is something that I've been wrestling with for months, actually. So I'm going to get pretty vulnerable here. If that's not you, then that's totally fine. This show may not be for you. But production services, and if you know anybody, or if you listen to podcasts and you're like, the audio quality on this show sucks, man, hey, I'd love a referral. I really would love a referral. And I've been doing great things over there with the GDP podcast, and it's been great learning and growing with networking with other podcasters out there. So if that sounds like something that your favorite podcast needs, that's what I do. And I actually have a podcasting kit. If you're interested in podcasting yourself, I've got a very simple kit.com, and I'll put that on the resources page. And I'll probably put it on the Facebook page as well if you guys are interested. Okay, here we go. We got through the preamble and it was super long, but let's get into the actual show, shall we? All right. The current state of We Rad Dads. Currently, Christmas approaches. It is, as of the release of this, is less than a week away. Ugh. Are you ready? I'm not. I got to tell you, I really love the Christmas time, and I was really in the mood, this Christmas spirit, so to speak, early on, and something happened, and I honestly don't know what, and I just hit a wall. I assume it's a couple of things, but it was really tough for me because I don't know. I couldn't identify it, and I really want to be in the spirit, and I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. How are you doing? How are you? Are you ready physically or mentally? It's a tough time. Seasons are changing. It's colder outside. It's darker for longer, and it's flu season, which has been my problem as well. I just want you to recognize that. And I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as providers to have the epic Christmas. I'm going to tell you right now that as of today, I have a total of 0 presents under the tree or otherwise. Now, granted, they're in the mail, Amazon. Thank you, Amazon. But I got to say, it's pretty bleak this year. It's not the Christmas that I wanted for my son. And I've been reassured lately, actually. I brought this up to a friend again last night. And they said, you're present with your son. That is something that maybe you haven't given yourself enough credit for. I'm there with him. And they love presents. My son loves surprises and presents. But I think being there for him is really the best thing I can do in this moment. And yeah, there's commercialism involved with Christmas, and I know his mom. I know she loves to give gifts. That's the way she does Christmas, and I don't know. I feel outmatched. In fact, it's not that I don't know. I do know. I feel outmatched when it comes to that, and it's a real ego check for me. But I know in the end that it doesn't make our family any less strong, and I'm probably beating myself up way more than I should have over this thing. And maybe you are too. Maybe that's why we're so anxious, nervous about the holiday season. But, we've got less time to work, guys work. And I'm the same way. I run my own business, and business it's a seasonal one. This is a very slow time for me, and it adds to my stress level. I can't afford to do a lot of things, anything that I want to do, other than spend time with my son. And I think that I just need to focus on the basics, and I think that's good enough. Like, nobody knows your desires. Nobody knows your shortcomings unless you come out and tell them, generally speaking. And I think that's really important point to kind of emphasize here, that we're all, myself, I'm not going to say all of us, all right? I'm just going to tell you about me. I have high expectations of myself, and when I see other people, they own their own home, and they have their 2 Mercedes in the garage or whatever that is, which by the way is not my metric of success, but I'm just going stereotypically here. They, business is going great, and they just got a bonus, and they're going to vacation in Tahiti or whatever it is. Like, it's easy to see those things and be like, oh, man, it's not fair, or that's what I want. But take stock of where you're at and where you're going. Know that there's no reason you can't get there, and just because you are where you're at right now doesn't prohibit you from being the best person and building the foundation first, and then getting into that where you can really appreciate those things. Anyway, that's a soapbox. It's kind of echoes on episode 48, right? But this is the point. My current state, it's flu season right now, and I've been for about 3 weeks that I can identify really ill, really ill. Like, my throat, it feels like I tried to swallow a mace, like a medieval mace, and oh no. Oh, there we go. My phone was ringing, which is weird because I thought I had it on silent. Anyway, I tried to swallow a medieval mace and then decided to change my mind and then pull it back out again. So it's just it feels terrible. I come down with a flu a couple different times, not flu, a fever a couple different times in the last week, and I've just been exhausted. I think it's mental and physical stress. And this isn't something that has been occurring just recently. As I look back, it's been a lot longer than that, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, as I think we all do, to be the best, to do as much as we possibly can. And I tracked it back to, well, probably before this, but August is really when it came to head. And at that time, I recognized that I was in a massive state of overwhelm. And as guys, there's only so much we can do about this. Especially rad dads, we're doing our best for ourselves and our kids, and it's it's like being a one-legged man in an ass-kicking competition. Like, you just can't get ahead, right? Overwhelm, and this is the first time I've really seen overwhelm for what it is. I'm going to read you the definition. It says, number 1, it's a verb. To bury or drown beneath a huge mass. And the quote, the water here, the sentence here is, the water flowed through to overwhelm the whole dam and the village beneath. Second definition, defeat completely. His teams overwhelmed their opponents. And then the one that I think that is directly applicable to my situation is to, quote, give too much of a thing to, parenthesis, someone, inundate or inundate. And the sentence is, they were overwhelmed by farewell messages, which is a terrible sentence. I should have come up with something better than that. But I recognize my overwhelm. As you guys know, per episode 48, and I'm probably just going to say that way too much for you to, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. But I took on a lot. As you know, was excused from an internship about a year ago, where I thought I had this thing in the bag, and it was a career corporate job, and it represented security, and I was kind of left out on my own. And that's one of the reasons I ended up starting We RAD Dads, actually. It's just because it's something that's been in my heart for a while, and I needed to figure this out, and you guys are on this journey with me. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm complaining, because I'm not. I know we all have a story, and we all have overwhelm, and we all have this, but I wanted to be vulnerable to you guys, right? I feel comfortable talking to you, and that's not something that I've always been capable of doing. But I recognize in being exactly who I am, that, as I said before, that's something we can identify with. We're all flawed as humans, as rad dads. We have our issues, and again, parenting is not perfection, but I really want to tell you guys, I'm not just some voice of God. I don't have it all figured out. I'd love to sit here and tell you, but I'm building those resources. What I recognized is a couple of different things. I wasn't being the rad dad I wanted to. I was completely exhausted, especially here recently. I'd lost the Christmas spirit, so to speak. And I'm a bulldozer, man. I'm just gonna keep pushing until something stops me. And what stopped me this time is, I came down with a fever so severe that it put me basically in bed for 2 days straight. And although I didn't have the time to heal, I had to keep going. I had to keep working, and I was working in the rain, and I got sick again. Like I got fever again, and I'm working on roofs and ladders, and it's just like, man, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is the Swiss cheese model. This is what I'm talking about. Like, everything that led up to the sickness, all the overwhelm and everything. I mean, is that the culmination of the Swiss cheese, or is it the sickness and then pushing myself to work and then falling off of a ladder and hopefully only breaking a bone, right? Is that the culmination of a Swiss cheese model? Like, all these little things led up to this, therefore X, he landed on his head and died, or, broke his spine. Yeah, extreme examples, but could easily happen, actually. The point is, I started recognizing the potential for disaster, and I really started thinking about how I was showing up, why I was showing up, and what I was doing, what's most important. I say put first what matters most, and that's, for me, that's my son. But then to support that, I need to figure out a way to, earn an income and continue to be who I am and be who I need to be for him. I continued ignoring a lot of these signs. I felt I couldn't stop. I was so worried, this whole year, actually. I cried. I actually broke down, with my son, and I was begging and pleading God to allow us the ways to continue to provide for my son, to continue to keep a roof over our head. I'm actually, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm actually getting a little emotional now. And that's who I am. I'm an emotional guy. I'm not going to apologize for that. I was on several occasions praying to keep food on the table and keep a roof over my head, because I knew if I fail at this, I'd end up having to move away from my son. I'd end up having to start a job in another town, and I wouldn't be able to see him. I wouldn't be the part of his life that I really want to be. I was failing at that here in August, and I reach out to my dad quite a bit, and I'm really lucky to have a dad who is, he's an amazing guy, and he totally understands me. A lot of people say we're twins, so that might be something to do with it. And actually, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking to him in the future. So there's a carrot as well and a teaser. But he came up and he helped me, and we didn't get a lot of talking done, but we did. He did come up, and just spending time with somebody is just, it was nice. Somebody who understood. I've realized that I was pretty isolated, and I think that that's both a good and a bad thing. And that's really come to a head recently. But of course, he encouraged me to take care of myself, and of course I want to. It's just that I've had these needs. What's most important, the social life or keeping a roof over my head? And then the choice is really obvious, and it's what I chose, which is keeping a roof over our head. Luckily, my social outlet is mostly internet at this point, and talking to you, and, well, things like this right now, just recording where I'm at and what I'm thinking. I'm lucky to have a few clients that I work for in my yard service business or my maintenance company, and we can talk here and there, but I still have a hard time being vulnerable. I continue to push, and that's just the guy I am. Life's not going to stop because we want to or we need a timeout. We all can identify with this. If you haven't experienced this yet, I don't know. I think you're not human. When things are so overwhelming, and it was funny. I listened to a really popular podcast. I just downloaded it. I'd known about it for a while, and I finally downloaded it. And within the first 5 minutes, I was so turned off of what this guy was talking about, and I respect him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to name him. But I was so turned off about what this guy was talking about. He was talking about failure and and how when the chips are down and how you don't quit. And it was that don't ever give up, don't ever fail, don't ever, you can't fail, it's not an option. BS. BS. Failure is an option. Failure is a reality more than that. Failure is what we've all experienced, and shame is how it manifests in us. That's exactly how I'm experiencing it right now. Shame. Recently, on another podcast, I heard Brene Brown talk about the difference between shame and guilt. And it really just hit me. I really wish I had written that down, but I'm going to produce a blurb on it, actually, and put it on the Facebook group. The difference of shame and guilt. This guy was talking about never giving up and never failing and hoorah, and we've all been subject to that. And honestly, I'm a big fan of that. But I think we have to be smart enough to know when we have finally pushed too far. And I've reached that level several times. A brief story is in college, I ended up taking, I think it was like 21 units. And my goal was to graduate as soon as possible and to get A's and everything else. And that semester alone told me what I couldn't do. I could not take 21 units in a high math degree, and that was a construction management field. I just couldn't do it. And I failed. I actually had to go to the dean and get a withdrawal. Funny story is I actually went to you have to go to the health center to get the clearance to do that. It's emotional health. And I went there, and I was so distraught that they took me to a counselor, and they thought that I had contracted some terrible STD. You want to talk about gratitude? You get overwhelmed in coursework, and at the time it was a real crisis. Right now it sounds like it's laughable. But you want to talk about a real crisis. Like, at that moment, I got some really good perspective. Like, oh, no, my life is not that bad, come to think of it. I'm just completely overwhelmed. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for reminding me that, universe and or community health center. Wow, what a tangent. Wasn't expecting to talk about that. Never give up. Bullshit. All right? That's all there is to it. In August, I started having palpitations and suffering from dizziness just in the course of my day and exhaustion. And like I said, I'm a bulldozer, man. I'm just going to keep working. I continued, and some of the problem was, I think, lack of self-care. I wasn't sleeping enough. I was continuing to push. I didn't have proper nutrition. I ate like a horse, but it was just like everything I could do to just the minimums, essentially. And you want to talk about downtime. I had no downtime. Do any of you actually have any downtime? Is there such a thing? Like, I've heard a lot of people talk about this downtime. Oh, we need downtime, and you need to relax yourself, and this and the other thing. Is that a thing for parents? Is that a thing for rad dads? I think you really need to schedule that. I think you really need to take a conscious look at what downtime you have, and apply it better. I think that's really the problem. I'm gonna sit here and tell you, I'm putting myself up here and say that's my problem. My downtime is interacting with the Facebook group and interacting with my networks online and editing podcasts and continuing to improve my skills. If I have downtime and I'm not passed out asleep, that's what I'm doing. I kept doing that, and I was recording actually an episode, and in the middle of an episode, and nobody knows this. In the middle of an episode, I experienced an overwhelming sensation that I can't really describe. Most of you know that I was a former firefighter. I am a former firefighter. I've been an EMT for over 10 years. I have a lot of experience with people who have health issues, and I can't describe it. It was incredible dizziness. It was shortness of breath. It was that feeling, if you've ever been either knocked out or passed out, it's that feeling right before you hit the ground. Now, don't ask me how I did it, but I actually finished the interview without letting on to what was happening. And I brought that interview to a close, and as soon as I did, it came on stronger. And I started breathing exercises, counting down my breaths, like not hyperventilating, but really focusing on my breaths and breathing so as to not pass out. Because it occurred to me that I was completely alone and that I had isolated myself to the point where nobody was going to come check on me. And here I am about to pass out. And I'm wondering, first of all, if I'm going to wake up. If I'm going to, something's going to happen. I'm going to, vomit in my unconscious state and then drown in it. Like that happens. That's an actual thing, by the way. And it made me really it exacerbated the situation. Now, I'm no doctor, but as I said, I have EMS experience, and in the state of mind I was at right then, I recognized a couple of really core symptoms, and that was chest tightness, dizziness, nausea, and cold sweating, as well as pain and tingling in my arms. Now, you don't have to be a doctor to understand what those are, but those are pretty common signs of a heart attack. Here I am, not quite 40. I'll be 40 probably the next time you hear from me. I'm not proud of that either. But I'm hearing stories of people, having heart attacks earlier and younger, and I'm going, if I have a heart attack and I leave my son behind, like what's going to happen? I'm getting a little emotional thinking about this right now, because that wasn't the first time I thought of that. That wasn't the first time thinking that if I get in a car accident, if I pass out and die, if I'm home alone and something happens, no one's going to come in time. What happens to my son? I'm lucky, like I said, to have a relationship with my dad, and I called him right away and said, this is what was going on. And I don't want to alarm him. I really don't. But I wouldn't have called him under any circumstances with that. And I told him the situation. Like, I'm afraid if I pass out, I won't wake up. He knew the situation. He knew that I'd been putting a lot of stress on myself, and urged me to go see somebody. And of course I said no. No. Because, that makes sense. I eventually said, I can't afford it, which is true. I literally can't afford it. And, cliche as it is true, he said, you can't afford not to. He was right. I can't. So I tried to go to the clinic, which is the one place I figured I could afford. I can't afford to go to the hospital. You kidding me? Turns out the clinic I went to doesn't take my insurance. And here I am literally on the verge of passing out the whole time. Like, I had to dictate my directions, where I was, in case I did pass out. My dad could call and say, my son is here. It was embarrassing. It's not one of my favorite stories to tell right now, by the way, either. Short story, even longer. I ended up at the hospital. I just said, the heck with it, I'm going. And completely... I was relieved to be there in the waiting room. At the admission, they put me on the EKG in a kind of a semi-private room, and there was this attending nurse. I don't remember his name specifically, but he was a cool guy. I remember that. But I was in such a state that I literally broke down. I remember that. That shame associated with breaking down and literally shedding tears in front of a complete stranger was tough. It's still kind of tough to think about it, actually. The coolest part about that interaction was that before I broke down, he looked at me and he said, "What's going on, man?" Obviously, it wasn't the first time that it had happened to him, where someone had come in so overwhelmed, and here they are. I lost it. That's when I lost it. And I started to be vulnerable. I told him my story. Man, it really sucks to lay my problems onto somebody else. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. And I have a feeling that you feel the same way. We're all tough. We're all these tough exteriors. We're that lobster, and they look pretty tough, and they've got the giant claws, and there's nothing's going to harm them, but inside they're just unprotected goo. And that's exactly where I was at that moment. And my eggshell had cracked, and I was starting to spill out. That's a huge, huge red flag that something really big is going on. Well, I ended up on the EKG, which was textbook health. And then they ended up drawing blood, because apparently you can tell if there's a cardiac event by the enzymes in your blood for hours, days, and some period afterward. And literally between those two things, I couldn't have been in more peak physical condition. And why was I feeling this way? Why was this happening to me? The doctor came in and he told me something that I am ashamed to actually admit. It's embarrassing. Apparently it's pretty common. And he said, in kind of a nonchalant way, as if I were wasting his time, which I may well have been. He said, "You have anxiety." Anxiety? What are you talking about? Like, I'm not a head case. Well, based on the story I just told, apparently I was a head case. I am a head case at that point. And he said, here's a prescription, and take these at night, and, try and calm down, follow up with your GP. And over the course of a week, the symptoms subsided with a concentration on them, on a concentration on relaxing, on a concentration on not putting such lofty expectations on myself. Now, that was in August, and from that, I decided actually to take some time for myself, which I didn't really know how to do, because running my own business and keeping a roof over our heads was such a concern. I decided that the inexpensive way to do this was go for a hike, and it's something that I love doing. I love hiking. So I did that, and those of you who follow me on Instagram saw the amazing sunrise time lapse that I captured, and it was really awesome. It was a great time. I enjoyed the physical exertion. I did actually do a little bit of blog, and I teased that actually. I teased that I want to do a crossover episode, and I'm still going to try and work on that here. It just didn't happen the way I wanted it to, because, well, things really haven't slowed down. But as I was there, I actually felt guilty. I felt guilty. I worked so hard for that reward, and I was out there for, 15 hours tops. I hiked to a place, I slept under the stars, and then I hiked home, or hiked back to the car. I felt guilty about that I took time for myself, and that's wrong. That was the wrong way to feel. Now, that wasn't the end of that particular story. That weekend went on to basically do the same thing I had been doing, which was completely overwhelm myself. But I figured, hey, I got some fresh air. I slept under the stars. I became a man again, a primal man for the night. I'm good to go. Well, didn't work that way. You guys know how far I've come this last year. Rejected from a promising construction job, striking out on my own. I initiated and developed a great co-parenting relationship. I feel very lucky for that. I started my own maintenance company. I currently I'm starting my own production company, and I'm continuing with the We RAD Dads. How do I slow down? Can I slow down? I think we all have to find a way. Now, granted, I'm not going to shirk any of the challenges or responsibilities that come my way in my new trajectory. I understand it's going to be a fight. It's supposed to be difficult. I get that. But I'm going to talk about something that right now, just a little concept that I think that maybe we've heard before. If you listen to podcasts, it's all the rage. But Anybody get on the airplane and go through that whole spiel with the flight attendants? Actually, I did that here recently. I was lucky to do that recently. And take my son on his first airplane trip. The stewardess, or I guess flight attendants is what they're called now, they give their spiel and they say, if there's a sudden depressurization of the cab, oxygen masks will fall from the sky, and you should secure your oxygen mask before helping others. Now, the bag won't inflate, but oxygen will be flowing. You've heard that before, right? I guess maybe that's my second calling. Do you know why they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first? Because if you're dead, you can't help anyone else. As a parent, a lot of times our inclination is to help our kids first, put our kids first. And I think that's a really noble thing. I think that's a biological thing as parents that we just do. We'll protect our kids to the very end. But we've got to reach a point where we realize we've got to strap on our own oxygen mask. We've got to save ourselves from being the terrible result of our situation and unleashing that upon our kids. I said earlier, I wasn't being the dad that I wanted to be. And that for me is a huge red flag. I was irritable. I was tired, cranky. I'm not proud of how I've acted in the last 3 weeks or interacted with my son. I am a much better dad than that. I'm going to put myself before you and say, I've failed in my own primary purpose. My goals in creating and developing We RAD Dads are very simple, and it's a resource for you. It's a resource for people who need desperate help and have no idea where to turn. It's to comfort you in these moments when you're goo inside. And I want to be there for you as an emotional and physical crutch when you're going through the bomb craters or in the aftermath. Because we know it's not just the bomb crater, it's everything that follows. And eventually we're going to get our feet under ourselves, but we're just not there yet. As guys, myself, I have a hard time asking for help. And so this is the best way I know how to deliver that to you. Look, guys, I'm really conflicted right now. And I'm always a voice of positivity and energy. And I think the energy shows through. I hope. I am really, really fired up about the future of We RAD Dads. And I have so many lofty goals for it. And I just can't implement them fast enough. I'm working on the resources here. I really am. I promise I'll get them out here. But here's the point. Here's the big announcement. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. But as of the broadcast of this episode, I will be concluding the first season of We RAD Dads. Fear not, because in my absence, I intend on rebroadcasting some of the most popular and favorite episodes. Now, granted, I've been trying to reuse some of my material for a little while now, and I think anybody who's been listening for a while has seen what's been going on with me, and I've been pushing like crazy. This decision has not come easily for me. I really wanted to push, and I was afraid, as one of my confidants asked, if you stop, are you going to start again? Well, fear not. I've actually recorded about 4 to 5 podcasts so far, but I need time to charge my own batteries, and especially through the holidays. If I keep going, then we'll be in trouble. So I'm going to be taking about a 6-week hiatus from new content, from broadcasting new content. I actually recorded a podcast earlier today. I mentioned that I'll have my dad on in the future in 2017. I will have, I've actually got a couple of really awesome guests. I've got another psychotherapist that I'm very excited to bring you guys. Things are happening, but I need to put my oxygen mask on first, because if I'm dead, nobody else survives either, so to speak. Man, that's a pretty bleak analogy. Now, I want you to be part of this, all right? So this doesn't mean that I'm just going to pull up stakes and walk away for 6 weeks. That's not what's happening at all. In fact, this means that I'll be more available to you via email, Facebook, and other channels. Now, I really want to create a mastermind, and this might give me the opportunity to really start the framework on the We RAD Dads mastermind and private coaching, which is something that I'm really excited about as well. Like, if I can help people face to face, that's exactly where I want to go with this. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My goal in We RAD Dads is to make this my full-time job. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a year. It probably won't happen within 5 years. Well, I hope it happens within 5 years. The point is, we're taking incremental steps forward. Let this be the metaphor of our recovery, our opportunity, so as I say, in the disillusion of your former relationships, your divorce or separation or what have you. The real opportunity here, but it's going to take work. In the meantime, we've got to keep our oxygen mask on. Guys, I hope I've set an example here for you. I hope that you recognize that every single one of us needs to take care of ourselves occasionally. Now, a lot of people say that I ran out of gas. You know what? Running out of gas is not a problem. Those of you who are mechanically inclined know that running out of gas just means you need more gas. My problem is I'm running dangerously low on oil. And it's important to know the difference. Because your engine's going to run without oil for a while. But if you continue to push with no oil, without the means of providing longevity for that equipment, for the internal combustion engine in this metaphor, then you're going to freeze that thing solid. It's going to weld itself together. And you've got bigger problems than a couple of quarts of oil or a couple of gallons of gas. That's where I'm at right now, guys. I'm not proud of the hiatus, but I think we all can agree that we all need it at times. I really hope to continue bringing you value. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really excited that this is going to allow me the opportunity to really work on We RAD Dads. I am really excited about the new resources page. I am really excited about the masterminds and the partnerships. I am really excited about the production side of podcasting. I'm really excited about, I don't know, did I say the new microsodes? I want to create new microsodes. Create more resources like the 7 Essentials. Like Swiss Cheese PDF. Like the followership and leadership and communication PDF downloads. Things that'll support you guys in the long run. I've got a couple of resources that I thought about, and this is going to be an odd one for you guys, but hear me out. I want to create a resource. I want to create a PDF or maybe do a show on how to meet men. I said it. How to meet men. Men. What the heck are you talking about, Walter? How to meet men? Listen, I told you a while back that I've been isolated and I need to foster relationships with other rad dads, other men, true men. And I think the problem is that I don't know how to begin that process. So that's one of the things I want to focus on. How do we meet other people, aside the We RAD Dads Facebook group, in person? How do we foster those relationships appropriately? Now, this has nothing to do with sexual orientation. This is how to create your band of brothers. That's exactly what I'm not worried about. That's exactly where I'm going. I know how important having a band of brothers is, and I want to bring us all the tools on how to foster those true relationships with other fathers out there. I think the problem is that we're isolated. But I would hope that We Rad Dads is providing you the platform to come together and to solve some of these mysteries and some of these, just uncomfortable questions together. Let us all pool our resources. Join me on the Facebook group. I'll be there more than ever now, especially in the next 6 weeks. I am super excited for the second season of the We Rad Dads podcast. Please come over and join us on the We Rad Dads Facebook group. If you haven't joined yet, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Come on over there, be part of the group. I will be there. I will be available at walter@weraddads.com. I'm not going anywhere, guys. But I need some time. I need just a little reprieve. Let's go over there to We Rad Dads group page on Facebook. And let's go over and tell me about your favorite episodes. I want to know which ones you guys like. I'm looking at the stats. I think I have a good idea which ones I'm going to rebroadcast. But tell me what you think, and I'll give you what you want. Guys, if you have any questions, any concerns, any ideas, if you hated the show, I want to know about it. If you hate the idea of me going away for 6 weeks, I want to hear about it. As I mentioned earlier with Dan's email, I really appreciate getting the email, and it continues to push me to do what I do. I do this for you guys. I do it for us all, right? I'm not selfless in this. I'm in this with you. And I hope that this episode has shown you that to the degree of which I am right in the trenches with you guys. We all suffer with this stuff. I don't apologize for being transparent and open with how I am and how I feel, because this is me. Take it or leave it. This is the first season of We Rad Dads podcast. I appreciate sincerely you making it what it is. I dedicate the entire season to you, the listeners, the followers on Facebook, the people who kept me going, the emails, the messages, the networks I've created, the men I've met. Thank you. It's because of you, not only have I come this far, but that I'll never quit. Guys, I'm in the trenches right here with you. I said it before, I say it again. I'm going to wrap this up. Please help support the show by using the Amazon quick links, the Audible trial. Please visit the resources page. I'll get it up as soon as possible. Guys, I do. I love you like brothers. And that's what I want us to be. I want us to bring that true band of brotherhood together as Rad Dads. And I think we will all rise with the tide. There's no reason we can't, and we shouldn't. And I can't believe nobody has done this so far. I feel blessed to be the one to do this for a group of men, Rad Dads, that truly deserve it. Thank you for keeping me going. Guys, make your tomorrows better than your yesterdays. Stay up, stay connected, and stay Rad Dads. Well, that's it for this episode of We Rad Dads. I sincerely thank you for joining us. Don't forget to look us up at www.weraddads.com. There you can find links to our Facebook page and Twitter account. Got a question or comment? It may be featured. Email me, walter@weraddads.com. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for joining us. And remember, stay up, stay connected, and stay rad, dads.